My name is Jen Micklick. I am your host. Thank you for joining us for Tech Tips Live, and our topic is 9.2. I have Dale Shetler with us today, and he is the one that is going to be showing us some of the new updates, and we're excited to show you. And some of you may be wondering where the ideas for these enhancements come from. So there are three important sources, one being customer feedback, so either through the web or support phone calls, and we do log those. Our Hertzler Client Advisory Board, which helps us determine top-of-mind issues for our development process, and Dale will get into this a little bit more here in a second. And then through our customer service department, and a lot of times it's indirectly from our technicians being out and training or either providing services from our customers, or by providing feedback on our website. So as always, under the last bullet point here, you can enter your ideas on our website. We have an Ask an Expert page, and we always look at those and appreciate those tips as well. So while I am going to hand over the baton to Dale, he will go ahead and show us some new updates for 9.2. And keep in mind, if you have questions throughout any of the topics, please go ahead and send your messages to me, and we'll get to those as soon as we can. All right, Dale, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Jen. So I'm Dale Shetler. I'm the Vice President of Product Development at Hertzler Systems. And so my background, last August, I celebrated 30 years here working on GainSeeker products. So when we get to the Q&A time at the end, I should be able to answer any product-related questions you may have, all the way back to version 2.5. So Jen, did you hear about the two software sales reps that walked into a bar?
No, Dale, I have not.
Yeah, the programmer was smart enough to duck. So yeah, the development department thought it was funny anyway. All right, so like Jen mentioned, I'm here to do a little show and tell about our latest version, which is 9.2. This version will be released on April 22nd, which is next Monday. At the end, we'll have a link to show you where you can go to request the upgrade, when it's available, and you can actually request it at any time. We won't process that until after the new version comes out at this point anyway. Before we dive into some of the new features, I do want to explain a little bit more about how we decide what gets added into the GainSeeker products. Like Jen said, there's three main ways we get ideas and stuff like that, besides the ones that we come up with on our own. And about 90% of the features come from customer requests. And we have 5 top-of-mind guiding items we use to help us discern which requests get added. And you can see them on the screen here. They are: help customers reduce total cost of ownership, provide predictive, prescriptive advisory tools, support different types of data sources, cloud support and development, and then enhancing user experience and ease of use stuff. So those are kind of what we use to weigh the different aspects of the different enhancement requests we get and what goes in. So let's take a look at some of the new things in GainSeeker version 9.2. There's 3 things I'm going to kind of show and tell, and then we'll have a slide with just listing some other stuff afterwards at the end. But the 3 things are a new OEE Time Chart, a new Defect Trend Wizard, and our enhanced printing that we're doing. So let's get right into it. Let me switch over to here. First thing I want to show you is an OEE Time Chart. I think I had too many E's on the first one. So I'm just going to load up our OEE charts. We've got an OEE Time Chart in the list now. That's new. And so when I hit OK, maximize this. This is showing an OEE time chart for 3 different mixing machines by hour. And so we have our other standard grouping that you can do, same grouping you can do on regular OE charts and DPUs and stuff like that. The legend up in the top corner here, it tells us what the color thresholds are. And these thresholds are all configurable, and I'll show you how you can change that in a little bit. You can also see right here, we are looking at OEE Time Chart by OEE, which is total OEE. We can also change that to just look at this chart based on quality, based on performance, or based on availability, which are the three metrics that make up the total OEE. So let's look at the chart. Looks like we have a couple of red, a yellow here. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. If I click on a cell, you can see that at the 4 o'clock hour, we had a 14% OEE reading, which is not very good. So I'm going to right-click on this cell, and typical right-click stuff, but we have a chart cell data and a chart row data. So a chart row data will do a new chart of that whole row, which in this case is mixer 1. If I do chart cell data, it'll do a new chart of just that hour's data. And so I'm going to do chart cell data. We'll do a Pareto chart. And you can see we had a power outage in that portion of the plant for 48 minutes during that hour. Obviously, that's going to affect our OEE availability, and that's why our numbers are so low for that hour. I'm going to look at the yellow cell right next to it, and you can see at the 5 o'clock hour we're at 83.3%, which isn't too bad. But let's go look at that data, and you can see here we had an unusual high number of quality defects, and that may or may not have been related to the power outage. But we could, at that point, we could dig into this a little bit more and try to figure that out, and see where those quality defects came from. And then finally, I'm going to look at mixer 2 from the 11 o'clock hour had a 32%, and if we dig into that data, it looks like we didn't have any product for 40 minutes during that hour, so that obviously affected our availability there too. So that is kind of how the OEE time chart works. Let's talk about customizing it a little bit. Go into our settings, and if we search for OEE time chart, you can see here showing the data. We're showing it by total OEE. You know, we can switch to quality, look at our data. It's a lot different looking here. Everything's yellow or red with a few greens, and you can see by the legend that our threshold is 99.9% for quality. So if we have any defects at all, it's going to turn yellow. If we go up and change that target value, here's quality value 99.9. We could make it 99.8, and then that's how you can customize what you want your color thresholds to be. I'm going to change this back to total OEE real quick. And the last thing I wanted to show you on here is our grouping. We have our normal grouping by time and traceability functions, and so here it's grouped by day, and you can see then your cell data is worth a whole day's worth of data. And so that's the OEE time chart. It just lets you drill into each time period a little bit better than some of our other OEE charts have in the past. If you have any questions about something I didn't cover, you can ask it and we'll get to it at the end. But I am going to move right in to the next thing I want to show you, which is our defect trend wizard.
I was just going to ask real quick, was this an enhancement request by one of our customers? Do you know?
Yes, it was.
I just thought that was a good thing to throw in there.
Yep. All right, so the next thing I want to cover is the Defect Trend Wizard, and this is a dashboard control. So I'm going to create a new dashboard. Call it Defect Trend Wizard, and you can see down here in our little toolbar we have a new little button down there called Defect Trend Wizard. And so I'll click on that dude and it adds it to the screen. And I'm going to, just real quick, I'm going to dock this so that takes up the full screen. When the window's resized, it'll continue to take up the full screen. So the main group of stuff we're going to look at here in this properties window is this data section. The way the Defect Trend Wizard works is that it compares two different sets of data. There's a baseline data set, and you can set your day range and filter and that kind of stuff for your baseline. And then there's the analysis data set where you can also narrow it down. And then when it does the analysis, it will compare the two different data sets. It'll compare the analysis data set against the baseline data set. So I'm going to set up here my baseline data set. I am going to look at previous month. And I'm going to set a filter because we only want to be looking at the mixing process today. So previous month for my baseline, and my analysis data set, I want to look at the current month. And again, I'm going to set that same filter where we're just looking at the mixing process. So we're comparing last month to this month. You can see here, you can calculate defects as total sample size or against total defects. There's some sorting options here, and you can group by things other than defects, just like you can a normal Pareto chart. We're just going to leave all those as the default values, but I am going to change a few things just to make it more readable. I don't know what happened there. I hit the X button.
That might do it. Probably did not save your...
No. So bear with me.
Watch how quickly a developer can recreate. That's what those control buttons are for, right? Bam, you're right back where you started, just about.
I've got a little thing on my screen here that's in the way. That's part of my problem. Yeah. So again, we're looking at, for our baseline, we're looking at previous month. For our analysis period, current month. And then here, I'm going to set up an alternating color and make the font a little bit bigger. Font bigger. And the last one.
What a great way to show off some additional properties that we've had in GainSeeker in the dashboard for a while.
All right, got it all set up. So we're going to display the wizard. And you can see here, there are several columns. The first column is the defect count for the analysis period. Second is the change from the baseline count. You can see the top row, that bitter went up 200 defects from last month to this month, while in the bottom row, sour went down over 4,500 defects in the since last month. The next column is percent change from the baseline, and the last two columns are around total sample size. And remember, those could also be around total defect if you'd rather do it that way. So this is the Defect Trend Wizard. It has all the normal right-click options. You can chart the analysis data for the whole grid or just a specific row. You can chart the baseline data. for the whole grid or just a specific row. And you can also start our drill down wizard from here, which will take you through all that. So that's the defect trend wizard. The last thing, the third thing I want to show you is our enhanced printing. And to do this, I'm going to open up a desktop. So this desktop has like 6 windows on it. And if we go up to the File menu, the first thing that you'll see different is we no longer have printer settings, print preview, some of those printer options on the File menu. We have print and print desktop. The difference is that print will print the current window with any stats and stuff with it, and print desktop prints all the windows. Print desktop is also available on the desktop menu, but we had some people saying that they didn't know about it, so we put it on the File menu also, so it's easier to find. So let's go into print, and this will print the current window. And you can see here we have a control chart with all the stats underneath it. In our new print preview window here, and the buttons along the top toolbar will just go across. The first is print. When you click that, it actually sends it right to the printer. The next button is printer settings. You can change your printer and some of the properties from this button. We have page setup, where you can change your page properties as well as margins and that kind of stuff. A quick way to change portrait to landscape. And then the zoom feature. So you can zoom into predefined numbers. You can type in your own numbers. And there's an auto size button right next to it. So those are the buttons. And then the last two here is the number of pages to see at one time on the screen and the arrow back and forth between the pages. This case, we only have one page, so there's not really a lot going on there. But with the print preview, you can see what you're going to get, tweak it a little bit, and then send it to the printer. The other option, like I said, was print desktop. When you print the desktop, the first thing you see is the print desktop dialog. And on the left, we can choose the window layout. The first option is just like you did file print. It has one window per page, and it has all the stats underneath it. And depending on how many stats you're deciding to display, that may actually scroll into a second or third page. But you get one of those for each window that's open. And then the other options are from 1 to 6 charts on a page with no statistics. On the right side is a list of all the open windows that are going to be printed. And from here, you can easily choose not to print a certain window by unselecting the check. You can also move them up and down so that they print in any particular order that you want them. So we're going to select the 2 chart here, hit next. We come up to the same print preview page as the 1 chart. All the buttons and everything are the same. In this case, though, we can actually, we have more than 1 page, so we can see what these functions do. 1 page, and we can scroll through them with our buttons. So let's review. The file print will print the current window. Print desktop will print all windows. We always come up in print preview mode now when you select something to print. And I should add, we remember the window layout and orientation from the last time that you ran, the last time you printed something, so that if you're always using the same thing, you don't have to change it every time. So, Jen, I think we'll stop there and go to any questions that the audience might have.
I do have one quick question, and that's referring back to the OEE chart. So that's the first thing that you showed us. What are the different grouping options for that OEE control? I think you brought it up, but you're so fast.
Yeah, so I tend to talk fast.
Which normally is okay. Yeah. We appreciate that here.
So here's my OEE chart, and like I said, this is grouped by mixer and by hour. Each cell is an hour. But it does have all our normal grouping functions. So what are your different options? Well, it kind of depends on your data. This data has been entered where there's one data record for every hour, and it's got 60 minutes worth of stuff in it for quality, availability, and performance. 60 minutes of it for each block of data that's entered. So really, the smallest I can go here is by hour, but depending on how you're entering your data, you can go down to 5-minute increments and have each cell be a 5-minute increment up to a quarter, 3 months worth of data in each cell. And then you can, that's for the cells, and then for, on the other side, shift, machine, all that kind of stuff is the same. And you can see with shift, there's a lot of a shift's worth of data, then 2 shifts of no data. Oops.
So in that situation,
doesn't make as much sense. And also, like in this, like I said, this is entered every hour. So if I would try to group it by 30 minutes, I have a record in one 30-minute block and no data in another 30-minute block. And so you see there's a block of data, no data, data, no data, and stuff like that. So all the options are there, but it really depends on your data on what makes sense to view that by.
So it's always good to think about how you want to visually see the data
and analyze it.
And analyze it
and then
going
collect,
into...
Yep, and then collect your data that way to support it.
Awesome. Quick print preview question.
Yep.
Print preview is great, but is there a way I can bypass that and print directly from the chart without doing preview?
At this point, there is not. You can from a command line. Like if you're printing from the command line, you can still do that, and it'll bypass it. But while you're
manually going to file print,
it'll always pop up the preview.
One quick extra click, which for me is probably good because I've wasted some paper a couple times.
I always do. So.
So great question though.
So
do you want to show at least some of the other?
We have a little bit of time here, so let's show another item real quick while we have time. So in 9.2, we really increased the number of Python commands for the different tests on inspections. So now through Python, you can get or set almost every test property. If it can be set in the property window during inspection design, it can probably be changed through Python. That allows you to control and change behavior while an inspection's running. Along with that, you can set the focus to specific controls while an inspection is running. So I have an inspection here. I'm just going to run it. It's called Set the Focus Example. And so you can see here, it says if the rating is bitter, sour, salty, or gritty, it has to be signed off by a supervisor. If it's okay, there's no sign-off needed. So I'll enter some data real quick. And the first one I'm going to do is okay. And if I submit it, everything goes through fine. The next one, I'm going to say it's gritty. And when I go to submit it, the rating requires supervisor to sign off. And it puts me up in that supervisor cell so I can sign off. And now when I hit submit, everything's fine. So what does that look like? If we go look at the inspection real quick. Here's my Python thing, and you can see it's a post. Formula mode is post, which means it runs this script when you hit the submit button. And the script, basically, you come in and it says if the value is less than 5, which means it's one of the defects and not okay, and the traceability field is blank, we pop up a message saying they have to sign off, and we set the focus to that traceability field. We do a cancel submit, which doesn't actually submit it and leaves you on that sub-inspection. And that's it. And so if the value is 5 or greater, and the field's filled in, then it just runs through normal and it doesn't do anything different. Hey, Jen, while I have you here, I just want to show you one other thing.
Okay, and I'm going to say I do have one more
All right.
question, but
Hey,
I'll let you show this first.
Here's a new thing we have for Pythons. I think it's really cool. It's called an inspection script. This is intended to load common functions and variables and classes and stuff like that into the Python engine, and it loads them in for the scope of the inspection. So once they're loaded in, you can use these common functions from any other script without having to duplicate them or have them reloaded and stuff like that. So like in this case, I have a common function script. It's got a bunch of common functions I wrote that I might need in other scripts. I load it here, and then I have access to them in every other script, so I don't have to duplicate them all the time. So that's a pretty cool function. Anyway, so next question.
Yes, really good question. On the Defect Trend Wizard, can the columns be configured to change the color based on the direction of the trend?
Say that again. Can the
columns be configured, right? The columns on the Defect Trend Wizard be programmed to change color based on the direction of the trend?
Yeah, at this point, no.
Do we have the ability to change colors on it,
that's
like with our statistic filters?
No. At this point, we do not. The colors are all based on, they're all hard-coded at this point.
Okay.
So the enhancement idea is changing the colors like green and red, whether it's going up or down.
Green, red, yellow.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get a little more, I'll ask a little more detail from that person. And it sounds like we already have an enhancement request, so you get a gold star, you know who you are. And looks like we're doing pretty good on time. One thing I want to reach out and say is I will send a follow-up email just on, I had a couple questions about, you know, oh, the OEE sounds great, but we're not using it. Where do I go? How do I get started? And I think that that's a great question and one that I don't want to just spend 1 minute on. So if you guys are interested in not using it, we have a lot of resources for you guys to look up yourself, as well as bringing us in and helping you figure out the best way of doing that. We have a couple more minutes, Dale. Is there anything that you wanted to say? Do you want to bring up that one slide that has
Yes.
A couple of the other updates? Just you guys take a look at these. Our last month, I know we talked about the natural language analysis. So if you were unable to see our tech tips from last month, go to our website. That video is up there, and that's talking all about the make sure your notes make sense thing and what Adrienne doesn't like for her demo anymore. Another really great one is the zip file for all inspection scripts reports. Be sure to check that out. Support for cloud databases. We just keep enhancing, and without you guys, I don't know what we would do. So keep the enhancements and questions and, hey, can we do this coming? We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Dale, I appreciate your time. He's usually back there and making everybody code and do their thing so we get the update out. And you said the update is coming out? Yeah,
Monday. So to get the update, go to www.hertzler.com/latest-releases. You can request it now. That website's still showing 9.1. Next week it'll have like the 9.2 new stuff in it. But if you request it now, we'll put it on the list, and we'll
wait until 9.2 comes out.
We'll wait till 9.2 comes.
9.1.
Yeah.
Awesome. And again, if anybody ever has questions, feel free to contact me, contact our support, and I will let you guys go and have a great day. And the last little question I got, yes, I can give you a call when we're done. All right. Thanks again. Have an awesome day. Check for a copy of this video. Will be up on our website sometime next week, early next week. All right. Thanks again.
Get back to work.